You guys, so I feel like it has been a while since I've done an educational insurance video. So let's go on ahead and get back to that today.
You in the past, I'm in the future. You mad that they don't salute you. I need a bag.
Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, my name is Keela Trushan and I make videos on lifestyle, insurance, and mental health. I also do vlogs, day in the life in the insurance industry, day in the life with a toddler, all the things. So if that's something that interests you, go on ahead and click that subscribe button below. Be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back and thank you for your support. Alrighty, now that we got that out the way. So I wanted to kind of go back to the basics and give y'all some insurance tea, if you will. As you know, I work in the homeowners department at a major insurance company and I'm a field adjuster. And today I wanted to talk about just kind of some of the things on the policy that people don't realize are not covered. I think a lot of times when people sign up for a policy, whether it be with insurance for your home or insurance for your car or whatever, people don't necessarily go through their policy and read the nuances to know what they're covered for and what they are not covered for. So sometimes you don't find out what exactly is covered until you have a claim, and that's a lot of times unfortunate. Sometimes it could be something that's not that big of a deal, but other times it could be a financial hardship. So I just kind of want to go through some of the common things that are not covered by insurance. So if you are an adjuster that is kind of new to the industry and still trying to figure out kind of how to explain these things, or if you're a consumer that is just curious, definitely go on ahead and stay tuned. Okay, so jumping right in, the first thing that I wanted to discuss is wear and tear and maintenance. So this is something that is not covered by any homeowner's policy. So whether you have a standalone home, a condo, whatever, you have a duty to maintain the integrity of that property. So whether that be plumbing, whether that be the condition of the floors or condition of any, materials in the house, you have a duty to maintain that. The insurance policy is basically for things that accidentally happen. So if something happens that's unforeseen to your property, that is something that's covered. So I would say the main thing that I think of when it comes to wear and tear and maintenance is plumbing. So a lot of the claims that I get in Southern California are water. We are very water heavy. So somebody's pipe burst and cause water damage to something, someone's water heater, malfunction and cause water damage, whatever. So typically what the policy will cover is the resulting water damage. So the pipe bursting in and of itself is something sudden and accidental, but the maintenance and the wear and tear of the plumbing would be the homeowner's responsibility. So typically what will happen in that situation is if I come out, let's say, I don't know, a pipe burst under your vanity in the bathroom, causing damage to the bathroom and the surrounding rooms, I'm going to cover the damage to the bathroom and the surrounding rooms, but I'm not going to cover the repair of the plumbing because the plumbing, it didn't fail due to something like hitting it or some type of sudden accidental event. It failed because it just simply wasn't maintained or something of the sort. So that is usually something that I would write a partial denial for, and depending on what insurance company you work with, it would usually be the same or maybe a similar type process. But yeah, you have a duty to maintain your plumbing and just things like that. So that's kind of the main example, but just know that when you have a homeowner's policy, typically when the adjuster is asking you questions or when they're coming out to inspect, they're trying to determine okay, what was accidental and then what is something that's a result of wear and tear. Now in some cases, for example, if you have a vehicle that hits a home, that is a sudden accidental event. So there wouldn't be a partial denial on that because it was not your fault. So whatever is damaged by the hit from that vehicle, or I'm sorry, the impact from that vehicle would be covered under your insurance policy. But again, with that water example, you're going to have partial coverage. So just something to kind of think about if you ever have a claim, if you own a home, you want to make sure that you are taking care of those things that are kind of behind the scenes, like the plumbing, the electricity, things like that, because God forbid something major happens, you would be responsible for the device that caused the damage. Okay, so the second thing that is not covered by your homeowner's policy is going to be mold on its own. So I say that specifically because there are some cases where mold is covered, and I will explain. So I've gotten claims, and I'm sure every adjuster has gotten claims for someone saying that there's mold in their home. Either they discovered it, after they, let's say, pulled out their bed and they discover mold on a wall. Typically it would be an exterior wall or a wall that's next to a room where there is some type of piping. You have a situation where the person maybe knew that they had mold and they've been cleaning it and it keeps coming back. So those claims, if there is no leak that caused this mold, So typically there is a limit on a policy for mold because it can grow quickly. So if there's a situation where there was a covered leak, so the leak caused damage to, flooring, cabinetry, whatever, and then mold grows in that instance, then usually there is a certain amount of coverage to remediate that mold specifically. But if someone is calling making a claim about mold only, so if you have a situation where there's like a crack in your stucco that is allowing like irrigation water or even like rainwater to get into your home, and that's what's causing mold to your home, that's not covered. So if you ever have a situation where you do have mold in your home, it's something where you want to do some investigation to determine if it's worth it to file a claim. What I always tell people is you pay premium, so there's no harm in reaching out to your insurance company just to see, kind of explain the situation, and the person on the other end can tell you whether it's worth it to file a claim. And if you're not sure and if you need some help with that investigation, you can still file that claim and the insurance company will investigate it for you to determine if there is coverage. Absolute worst case scenario, they'll just tell you that it's not covered, but usually most insurance companies will give you access to their resources, whether that be like an environmental company or just some type of contractor to help you remediate your home of that mold. With that, I'm going to also talk about lead and asbestos. I'll kind of put that in the same thing. Sometimes people might be having maintenance under their home and they find out that there is lead or asbestos. That's going to kind of be the same thing with the mold. Lead and asbestos on its own are not going to be covered under your policy, but if the area where the lead and asbestos is due to a covered cause of loss and that material has to be disturbed in order to like fix whatever it is, then that's something where the insurance company will pay for some type of remediation, abatement, something like that. So just know that if you have mold in your home, if it's been a concern, usually not something that's going to be covered unless there is some type of covered cause of loss that is causing that mold or lead or asbestos to be disturbed. Other than that, that would be something that you would have to pay for out of pocket. Okay, so the next one is a little bit tricky, but it's basically settlement. Settlement on most policies is not covered, and this is something especially tricky for California. So California, we're known for having earthquakes. So if the settlement is like a result of an actual earthquake, then you would have to have earthquake coverage in order for that to be investigated, and you possibly have coverage for that. Whole other situation. I don't have much experience in the whole earthquake situation because thank God, knock on wood, we haven't really had anything major since I've been working in insurance. But if you have earthquake insurance and something happens due to an earthquake, then that is how you would get those types of damages taken care of. But settlement for me, based on what I do and the policies that I look at, is usually like the biggest example I can give. I had a customer who had a gate that was outside of his home and it connected like his home to like his back fence, and that the actual gate was like tilting, and it was kind of just tilting over time to where he had to keep like rearranging the lock because it wouldn't close. So basically we had an engineer go out, and the engineer determined that there was settlement in the soil. So the soil is just simply settling due to like water, usually like from rains and things like that. And then also he had an irrigation system. Like he had a system where he had like sprinklers that water his grass. So situations like that, like just regular settlement and like anything foundation related is not covered by your policy. Typically the policy is only going to cover the actual structure. So the actual home, including the subfloor and the crawl space, is going to cover that. But anything that's like dirt, anything that is just, again, like outside of the footprint of the actual house is not going to be covered. So we get claims a lot where people might see cracks, like, randomly, oh, I'm starting to see cracks on my walls, and this back area, I just got this built and I'm starting to see cracks. That's not something that the insurance company will take care of. Now, what I will say is that depending on your insurance company, every insurance company should be doing this, but since I've worked for a few, I know that the investigation can kind of vary. But the insurance company will like investigate to see what's going on before they say no. But typically, like for me as an adjuster, if you come to me with this type of damage, I am going to tell you like, hey, these are the possible exclusions, as in these are possible reasons why it might not be covered, but we will do a thorough investigation to see if we can find some type of coverage for you. So just know, if you're experiencing something just like random cracks, or if you're experiencing like settlement of like gates or different rooms in your home, those things unfortunately are not going to be covered under your insurance policy. Okay, so the fourth thing that I want to talk about is plumbing access. So I know the first thing I talked about was like plumbing, basically like anything wear and tear is not covered, maintenance related is not covered. So typically plumbing falls under that realm. But if we have a situation where we're talking about plumbing access, What that means is that in order for the plumber to stop the leak, they have to access a part of the home, as in like tear out a floor or tear out drywall or something like that. Depending on what type of policy you have, that access will be covered. So we'll cover the cost of repairing that drywall or repairing the floor inside of the home. Now, what's not covered is if it's a situation that originates outside of the home. So, for example, if you have some type of plumbing, like a sewage line or something like that, that runs outside of the home, and they have to access it from, let's say, the front lawn in order to stop the leaking, that's not going to be covered because that access happened outside of the home. And remember, like we just talked about, the dirt foundation, that is not covered by your homeowner's policy. So essentially what would happen is the policy, again, would cover the ensuing water damage. So it would cover the resulting damage of, let's say, a backed up pipe or something like that, the damaged materials inside of the home. But the actual cost to put the dirt back and to fix the pipe and all that stuff outside of the home is not covered. So just to kind of go over that one more time, because I know that can be kind of tricky. If the plumbing needs to be accessed inside of the home, as in inside of the footprint of the home, that typically will be covered, not the actual plumbing, but the access. So the damage to the materials that needed to be done to get to that pipe. But if the access happens on the outside of the home, that would not be covered. So the plumbing wouldn't be covered in that instance, nor would the repair of the dirt, foundation, lawn, whatever the case may be. So yeah, that is plumbing access, and depending on where it's at, it may or may not be covered. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is rot and deterioration. So anything that is considered rotted or deteriorated is not going to be covered on your policy. So this is very important. This is why typically if you read your policy language, if you read like the condition section, it'll say something like you have a duty to mitigate your damages. And all that means is once you see that there's a problem, you have a duty to stop it until repairs can be done. So for example, if you have a leak, you have a duty to, stop that leak, whether you call a plumber, whether you turn the water line off, whatever that is. You have a duty to prevent additional damage until you're able to get everything fixed. So with rot and deterioration, it basically signals that something has been going on long term. Things that are going on long term are typically not covered by your homeowner's policy because it says that you were not maintaining your home. See how all these things kind of like come back together, everything comes full circle? So as an adjuster, as a field adjuster, when I come into your home to look at the damages, that's one of the first things I'm looking at. Is this something that you saw? Is this something that a reasonable person would have seen? Or is this something where you wouldn't have known? Now, even with that, I will say that most policies will not cover rot and deterioration whether or not you could see it. So this is where that partial coverage comes in at. So biggest thing I could say, or I would say biggest example I could give is there could have been like, let's say a slow leak in a bathroom. I have a colleague with a situation like this right now. There was a slow leak in the bathroom that damaged the wood floor. And the wood floor, you could tell that there was like some swelling and stuff, so we can take care of that portion of the wood that was damaged. But the contractor said that there's also like damage to the subfloor. Because this leak was going on for a little bit and they didn't know, part of that subfloor is rotted. So we had to make sure that we told that contractor and the customer that, look, we understand that you didn't realize that it was leaking and you reached out to the insurance company as soon as you knew. But we can't take care of the subfloor, or at least that portion that needs to be removed. You would be responsible for that because it's rotten and deteriorated, which means that this had been going on for a long time. So it's kind of a tough conversation to have, but most people do understand that. So yeah, basically like it would behoove you to kind of like, pull your dishwasher out here and there just to see like, is there anything going on behind there? Because we see that a lot where a dishwasher may be leaking and you don't see until the damage is now in front of the dishwasher where you could actually see. But when you pull it out, you'll see like rotted flooring. There might be a situation where like a refrigerator like water line, we see that a lot where that's leaking and then you don't know that it's causing damage until you pull your refrigerator out and you see like rotted baseboards and stuff like that. So these are things that as a homeowner you do want to kind of check on, because sometimes things are going on that you don't see, or like you might get a high water bill or something like that, and then that signals you to know that there is some type of leak going on in the house. But basically, as long as there is no sign of rot and deterioration, you won't have any issue. But those things specifically, whether seen or not, are not covered. So yeah, definitely something to keep in mind. Like if you see something, say something, definitely try to fix it. The insurance company also understands, like if you didn't want to call and file a claim right away, like if you try to fix something on your own, it's still like you're mitigating your damages as long as you're fixing it the proper way. So just kind of think about that. And I would say, do maintenance checks. If you have a company that can kind of do maintenance checks, I would suggest doing that, because once things, go bad, you pretty much put yourself in a situation where you may not have coverage for a certain part of your home. All right, you guys, so that is all that I have for you today. I really truly hope that this video helped. Like I've told you guys in plenty of different videos, I feel like a lot of people just don't know what is going on with their policy that they're paying for until they file a claim. And at that point, it's too late, because if there's a problem that you should have addressed a while ago, the adjuster's already investigating, and you're already putting yourself in a position where you're not going to get coverage for that piece if you didn't maintain it properly. So I think, the more you know. Now, this is not inclusive of everything that would be denied on a claim. This is just kind of some of the most common things that I see. But I do encourage you, if you own a home, if you own some type of property, if you're a landlord that has property, definitely look at some of the exclusions on your policy. Look at the things that are actually covered, and also decide, do I have enough coverage? Do I need to get more coverage? Am I overinsured? To be honest, I don't really think there's such thing as overinsured, because catastrophes happen. But the biggest thing I'll see sometimes is someone being underinsured. But definitely make sure that you are, looking out for your property. If you are a landlord specifically, make sure that you're doing random checks on your property, whether that be every 6 months, every year, just kind of, looking to see that everything is still intact. I see that a lot with landlord policies, where as a landlord, you don't live there, you live at your own residence. So sometimes things will be going on and the tenant might not let you know. Not because they're trying to be, malicious or anything like that. They just simply don't know to tell you, or maybe they try to take care of it and they didn't think it was that big of a deal. And by the time it does become a big deal, it's something that your insurance won't take care of, and now you're having to take care of. So yeah, read those policies, even if you're just skimming through it. And, if you ever need assistance or if you have questions, definitely call your insurance company. They can always go over that coverage with you and explain it to you in layman's terms. And if you are an adjuster, if you are an insurance professional, I encourage you as well to just get comfortable having these conversations. A lot of times the exclusions and things like that are going to be the same for most insurance companies, but depending on where you live, there may be different nuances. Like, for example, here in Southern California, we have earthquakes, whereas in Florida, there's floods and stuff, Texas, there's a lot of hail damage, things like that. So there might be things that pertain to the specific area that you live, in the United States or wherever you're insuring property. But I would encourage you to, just kind of read through some of those exclusions as well, so you can kind of understand. And if you don't get it, then talk to a manager, talk to a trainer, so they can explain it to you, so you can better have those conversations with your customers. So if you enjoyed this video, definitely go ahead and give me a thumbs up. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you have not subscribed and you made it this far, please go on ahead and click that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. With that being said, you guys have an amazing day, and I will see you next time.
You in the past, I'm in the future. You mad that they don't salute you. I need a bag, size is super. They turned your bag, it's like I never knew.